This week, I'm fabricating a custom handrail for my girlfriend's parents, and I learned something invaluable along the way. I know, right? The parents. I guess you could say the pressure's on. We spoke a few times about the specific design they wanted. They sent some actually pretty detailed photos of this new concrete slab they poured. I was getting a little worried because they wanted something pretty intricate that a machine couldn't necessarily create. And I wasn't even sure if it would be structurally sound. I mean, I'm supposed to be an engineer. Could you imagine if some kid was playing on this thing and all of a sudden, BAM! No more, kid. There goes my career. The design, well, it was simplistic and out of the scope of my skills, at least for now. So I started cutting these 1x1 solid 1018 carbon steel square rods and hoping to God that these very averaged girth steel bars could hold up to the beating. Wink, wink. We're working with some very limited material here, so I figured I'd go big or go home. Then I got to work on what I thought was the most comfortable part of this project, machining these fancy feet covers. Nah, I'm kidding. They actually look like this.
So here's what this piece is going to look like. I'm going to need two of them, and it's going to act as the cover to go over the bolted handrail. A little over engineered, over machined here, but there's nothing wrong with that. Looks nice.
For the first operation, I came in and touched off the stock, which was a small piece of 4.4375 1045 shafting. I had to machine this part in two operations. First, I had to make this little square part, then flipped it over and made this other little square part. So descriptive. I'd go into more detail about machining, but I just feel like it's a little boring to watch. I don't know how titans of CNC make this stuff so interesting. Boom! Next, you're going to see me use these giant sheets of paper. What these are is just a one-to-one print of what I'm supposed to be making. You know how I mentioned a machine couldn't necessarily create what her parents wanted? Yeah, so I have access to pretty much any tool you could ever imagine. I mean, I'm talking high-end laser cutters that can cut 1-inch steel with an accuracy of less than 5/10, CNC brake presses, a CNC mill, CNC lathes, literally anything you could imagine. And I'm super thankful for this. I've been fortunate enough to land a job where they let me mess around with the equipment a little bit. John Deere's not going to let me do that. So what I'm getting at is that although I had all these tools, none of them could get the job done with the results I wanted. Computer number controlled machines are really good at doing simple tasks repeatedly very fast. However, making things like these complex curves that curve in two directions, yeah, in my experience, they're not so good at that. Now, I know you can get a specific machine for this type of work, but it's too specific in its job title to be good at anything else. Basically, it's not worth the cost for a one-off project. So what we have here is a $30 Harbor Freight bender. I should also point out a forge and anvil would be amazing, which we do have, but I have much more experience with bending than I do forging. So after I put this simple bend in, it was time for the hard part, which, if I can provide some foreshadowing, is not the most difficult part of this build. In reality, the worst part, and frankly quite embarrassing, is yet to come. The first part, however, was making these curves. I took a lot of practice and frequent back and forth trips from the bender to the hydraulic press to flatten it back out and start again. This part was frustrating because the slightest increase in pressure would overextend the bend and put a kink in the metal. I was trying to get a seamless curve from start to finish, tried to make it seem like it had a natural flow. You know, and what I learned from the constant trial and error over the 2 days it took me to figure this out, well, it goes back to that old saying, patience is a virtue. And indeed it is. And not only that, but I think I'm starting to learn something that ties in with my bigger problem I had later on. And probably still have as I'm editing this video, but we'll get to that later. So, here's a mock-up of the tedious work that finally came together. Work which I was quite proud of. I actually really like the design they came up with. It's simple yet elegant. For the next step, I just had to put everything together. I started off by marking and cutting these bevels.
Now, just got to cut the bevels so I can put more weld in there to attach these. Everywhere where there's red, I'm going to cut out.
If you liked the video so far, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Stick around. If not, go roast me in the comments.
Here's what I was talking about with the bevels. So I just beveled each end in order to give me a bigger slot to weld, because this is 1-inch material here. If I were to just put a small weld bead on top, that would break in I don't know, a few months, maybe a year or something like that, especially if this gets a lot of use.
After welding the main frame together, I had to go back and grind the welds off. Not to just make it look better, but also so the rest of the pieces would sit flush to the frame. And to put the rest together, it was nothing fancy, just propped the frame up on some spacers, clamped everything together, and gave it a solid weld. Everything seemed like it was going pretty smooth, but you see, I had the slightest feeling there may have been some weird code regulating the height of the railing, you know, for safety reasons.
Training and supervision to ensure everybody's safety.
Well, turns out my gut was right. Now, I'm sure it wouldn't matter too much, but I like to try my best. Since code regulates railing height should be between 34 and 38 inches, we gotta chop some excess off. Okay, so I think I figured out a way how to do it. Pretty simple. Just gonna come in here and cut 2 inches off the bottom of each one. The only problem I think I might run into is I actually made this curve here a little longer, if you remember, and the foot cover might run into the weld of there. So I'm gonna be straight up here. My phone died, and I kind of finished the whole thing. So there's no footage of that. All I did though was weld the feet and paint. Nothing too fancy. So this is the end. But you're gonna ask, wait, what was that big problem you were gonna tell us about? Well, I figured not everyone wants to see a big, handsome Native American cry about his feelings. So for those who don't care, go check out the rest of the videos on my channel. Otherwise, here we go. Okay, so gonna be honest, a second time here. I just got done recording this segment, which was like 25 minutes long, which I proceed to explain my story of what happened and what went wrong during the install of the railing. But that's way too long for a sort of video like this, which I'm going to talk about this again, but I'm going to do it in another video where I'm calling the daybreak, where I basically just wake up early in the morning, drink coffee, and talk to myself and maybe a few other people. So if you're interested in that, just look out for another video coming out early sometime next week. However, just to quickly go over that situation, here's how it went. I went to go install the railing. I tried to install it. I could not install it correctly. Instead, I had to jerry rig some situation up, and I'm not proud of that. When I do things, I like to do it the correct way, the right way. Right now, it's still not fixed. So what clicked for me, or what I learned from this situation, is that I need to slow down, plan ahead, and just keep trying, right? Don't give up. I was really bummed after this situation, and I don't ever want to feel like that again. I was super embarrassed. I was bummed out. I felt like I couldn't do this anymore. Now, as I'm editing this video, I know that's not the case, and I need to keep trying on this stuff, especially new things that I don't have a lot of experience with. So I'm just gonna cut it there. It's getting long again, but thanks for watching, guys. If you liked the video, go ahead, comment what you liked. If you didn't like it, like I said, you could try to roast me, but I know it's pretty hard to do that. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.